What are some red flags for teachers that scream drop this class immediately? I had a teacher that I loved but everyone hated. My economics teacher was an absolute madman. First day of econ. Madman. First rule. Any and all cell phones are to remain off. If I see you using them, I will throw them out the door. Cell phone rings. It says. Madman looks at class, grabs cell phone and throws it out the door. Madman didn't need to talk to my wife anyway. No one will get an A in this course because insert some philosophical highbrow bullshit answer. Tenured organic chemical prof. Any questions? 50 hands go up. Prof, it's a fairly simple concept, so you just get there. Let's move on. Had a drawing professor that put a stack of pre-signed withdrawal forms on his desk. Told us to grab one when we were ready. You should drop all of your other classes because this course will require a lot of time and effort. These books are required for the class. I wasn't able to get the revision into the bookstore in time, so the only place you can get them is from me directly or from my website. I will warn you, if you don't buy the books you won't get the login information to be able to take the final, which is 90% of your grade. Oh, and no, I can't accept financial aid for them, but it's only $250, so it's not a big deal. Never seen an entire class get up 5 minutes in and leave before. Too many people got A's last semester, so I'm changing my syllabus for you all. Think that their students should only focus on this particular class for the upcoming semester, as if they should spend all their time on it. The required textbook is a saran-wrapped package of loose-leaf papers that cost $100, authored by the professor. This is my first time teaching, so you'll be my guinea pigs. Her test averages were low 50s with no scaling. It was great. My name is Konstantin Makarov. I was nuclear physicist in Russia. This course will not be easy, not all will survive, but we can get through together. First words uttered by my differential equations professor. Back when I started college, I got straight A+S in a class, but when I went to check on my overall grade, I had a B+. Found it odd, and went to question my teacher about it. He said that he dropped down my grade because the class was a bit of a pain in the ass. He didn't use those exact words, but that's what he meant. Then I questioned him again about my posture, asking if I did anything wrong, or disturbed class, or whatever. He promptly said I didn't, and that I was a great student, which made me ask again why is grade lower then. He told the same excuse from above. Then I asked if he was planning on changing my grade at all, since I had only S, and he promptly said he wasn't going to change. Fast forward a few days, I ended up filing a complaint about him and his method of grading students, and the college made him change my grade. After that he approached me and said something like, "Hey Forces, you didn't have to file a complaint about me. I was gonna fix you grade yada yada." Get out the science textbooks and work on chapter 5. Activity 1. Proceeds to sit down at their desk to do random shit on their computer. Saw a course at my college called Digital Media and American Culture. Sounds neat, I thought. I'll go to a lecture during the shopping period. The professor is 10 minutes late, an 80-year-old man, who gets up and literally asks a student in the front to tell him how many Facebook friends she has, and then how many real friends do you have. Was flabbergasted when he asked if anyone in the classroom had read 1984, and most of the class raised their hands. He was 100% convinced that millennials never pick up books anymore. Yeah, no. I had a professor that in hindsight I really should have dropped. It was a Western civilization history class, and the first day the entirety of the class he spent talking about how he missed his old job teaching in Europe because American students are more lazy and incapable of getting as high of grades. Then he showed intro YouTube videos from his personal laptop, hooked to a projector, and all of the recommend videos all had titles like Grinding with Thong, See College Babe Grinding, etc. I thought he was just eccentric, but the guy was easily the worst teacher I ever had. He would expect you to totally memorize all the chapter. He would quiz on material that didn't matter for concepts, i.e., what was the name of Caesar's second cousin? When the information would be found in a huge family tree. The only students in the class with A's were women, and he would grade their quizzes differently and be much more lenient. The students compared quiz results Someone in class called him out, and he said that he was tired of teaching Americans and doesn't get paid enough. Literally. Gives a test on the first day that will be counted against you. Had one of my mathematics teachers do this. Pride in the difficulty of their course. If everyone fails, it's not for an inability to learn, but for an inability to teach. I took an economics course and bombed the first test. I went to the professor and told her I really want to do well in your class. What are some suggestions you might have on how I can be successful? She looked at the grade on the test and said you should drop the class and change your major. I maybe should economics, but I can follow instructions. I've had teachers that I just simply couldn't understand due to a language barrier, and in hindsight I should have dropped immediately. I learned that basically, if you can't understand what the teacher is saying, be prepared to teach yourself a lot of the class. I had an accounting teacher one time who was Chinese, and I remember sitting in that class on the first day scratching my head because I had no idea what she was saying. I looked around, and a lot of the other people had the same look on their faces. The next week I showed up to class, and what was once a classroom of about 40 people was now about 12. I should have known right there to drop, but I didn't. I stuck it out, and a few weeks go by, and it didn't get any better. I got my first test back and completely bombed it. I told myself right then that I was going to have to teach myself the material and that coming to class was pointless. So I taught myself accounting by using the textbook. Since I didn't go to class I missed all of her pop quizzes, but just told myself I'll make it up on the tests. I only showed up for tests and the final, and lo and behold, I passed the class. I had a sociology class where during the introductory lecture the professor went on a tangent about how, since she has a doctorate, if she was ever on a plane and someone asked, "Is there a doctor on board?" she would say she was a doctor. If you didn't call her drive she would ignore you. She stated that holding a doctorate in sociology should carry the same clout as being an MD. No disrespect to sociologists or anyone with a PhD, but those are not the same things. She went on other rants about how nobody has ever gotten a 4.0 in her class, and she was proud of it. It was the worst class I've ever taken. She was just an insecure nutcase with a PhD on a power trip. I barely passed. Oh, and the course text was of course her own book. This class will be using a textbook that I'm writing and editing during the semester. Translation: it's going to be amateur hour. In addition to trying to learn new stuff, you are paying the school for the privilege of proofreading your professor's book. Personal experience: I literally dropped 4 classes my sophomore year. Prior to starting the classes, the disability department contacted all of my teachers to tell them that I'm deaf and that I would need some form of written/typed paper to follow along with lectures. I'm completely deaf. Sit closer, I can't give you special treatment. When the teacher doesn't even explain anything, he just goes on YouTube and shows the class a video and everyone is left without a clue of what is going on. I dropped computer science because of this, and I'm glad that I did. Also, when the teacher hardly ever explains anything and insists on independent research, more like I can't be asked preparing lessons, so just go ahead and do it yourself. I haven't quite finalized the course org and grading, so I'll be adjusting them as we go along. Surprise assignments, surprise tests, way too many group projects. I should have known. 2-hour in class, pre-recorded PowerPoint lectures from 2008 because it saves time for me, and please don't ask questions until after the end of my PowerPoint. This was in 2017. If all your professor does is read from the textbook, then drop that class if you can. Sometimes you need it for your major or a time conflict, but if you can, drop it. You know how to read. You have to buy this online book to have access to the online homework when I can get the PDF of the book by various means. Who the hell want to pay to do homework twice? The opposite, purchasing the book for this class will not be necessary. Save your money. I have a PDF copy if anyone needs it, but we will follow along together, and I have printouts of all the questions. When a teacher does that, I'm like, okay, they obviously care about making this a good experience and not wasting my time or money. I once had a professor say you get 2 absences this semester, more than 2 and you fail. It doesn't matter what the excuse is. Sorry, with older relatives who were sick and dying, and not being a psychic myself to know whether or not I'd get sick, or if I'd forget to set an alarm, or any number of unforeseeable things, that level of rigidity and unwillingness to compromise isn't worth it. When the first thing they say, before reading the 2-page, 1.0 spaced syllabus is, "I've been teaching for X years, so I deserve your respect," or something like that. That's basically a 100% accurate indicator that this person cannot be wrong, and they will talk to you like you're a piece of sh. They can't earn anybody's respect, so they have to ransom it. I took a physics class when I was in college. Day 1, I'm paging through the syllabus, which was like 5 pages long by the way, and I see that there's a 5-page paper due later that week. I asked the professor if that was a mistake. He said it was not. I dropped the class that afternoon. Definitely one of the biggest things you need to consider is that even if there is a large workload, depending on the subject it may help. You have to remember that the professor has to also grade this stuff, so assuming there's no TA doing all of the grading, it is extra work for him. It's not what you want to hear, but take for example my physical chemistry professor. He assigned 1 to 2 homework assignments per week, and they took anywhere from 3 to 6 hours on average to finish. It sucked ass, but instead of guessing on exams, I fully understood the material. This professor was always answering emails as well, within an hour at almost any time of the day. If they have response times, they probably won't be that helpful, and I'd recommend dropping. The most helpful professors I've had were the ones that answered emails as soon as possible.